Y'all, welcome to Richard in the Kitchen. Tonight's episode, I'm going to show you how to make some restaurant quality beef enchiladas. It's real simple to do. It'll save you some money. You can do this and feed 4 people for about a little less than $10. And with what I'm going to use, it's going to save you on some fat. The average enchilada comes in at about 10 grams of saturated fat. What I'm doing here with just the ground beef that I'm going to use, which is a 96.4, it'll come in at about 1.5 saturated fat. Now, of course, you can skimp on the cheese and save a little bit of fat that way also, but this is a little bit more healthier than what you normally get in a restaurant, but it's just as good. So with that said, let's get started and I'll show you the ingredients. Now, what we're going to need to do this is, of course, is some 96.4 ground beef, some tortillas, and for the seasoning of the beef, we're going to use about a 1/4 cup of flour, some black pepper, red pepper flakes, chili powder, and some cumin, and some salt. And for the sauce, we got some tomato sauce. We got 1.5 cups of water. And for seasoning of that, again, a 1/4 cup of flour, some salt, some pepper, some chili powder, some cumin, and about a 1/4 stick of butter. So, at the end of this thing, what we're going to do is top it off with some pico de gallo that I made yesterday, some parsley, and a couple of leaves of cilantro. So, let's get this started. Let's get the ground beef started. And we got the ground beef in a hot pan, cast iron skillet. We're just going to break it up, and we're going to brown it before we add our seasonings in there. Those seasonings really add a lot of flavor to this beef. I guess you could just use the beef, but and some salt and pepper, but like I said, we're doing restaurant quality enchiladas here, and I tell you what, I've done this many times this way, and it sure is good. So let's let this ground beef brown a little bit, and then we'll start adding the other seasonings. Now, while we're waiting on that ground beef to brown, we're going to add our butter to the pan, and we're going to let that melt just a little bit. And while that's melting, what we're going to do is we're going to add this 1/4 cup or 1/4 tablespoon of flour. Actually, what we're kind of doing here, just kind of make a roux, and once that gets all mixed up, see what that looks like there, man. I tell you what, that smells so good. And then once that gets mixed up, that butter all melts there, we will add the other ingredients. It doesn't take long to do this sauce. I'm making my own homemade enchilada sauce. You can buy that little package stuff that you put in there and you just add water and everything, but I don't find that it's as good. Stir that meat a little bit. Okay, now the butter and the flour is all mixed up. We're going to add this 6-ounce can of mater sauce, and we'll stir that up real good, and we want it to thicken up. Like I said, we're wanting to make a roux, and once that's thicker than it is now, we'll add our seasonings to this. Okay, our enchilada sauce is coming together nicely. See how thick that's gotten there? Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to add our seasonings. We got 1/8 of a teaspoon of chili powder, 1/8 of a teaspoon of black pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of coarse salt, 1/8 of a teaspoon of cumin, and we'll get that all in there, and we'll give it a good mix. That smells good. Can y'all smell that? That smells so good. Now, we've got that all mixed up. Now what we're going to do is we're going to slowly add water, about 1.5 cups of water to this thing. Mix it up. And once we got it a little bit thicker. We're going to add all that water in there. Like I said, that's going to be the chili sauce. Now, we're going to stir that. Check on our meat here. We're using this 96.4 extra lean beef. You're going to find it doesn't have much fat or grease that you have to drain off. I mean, you got to have a little fat, right, for a little taste. Okay, let's stir our sauce a little bit. Man. All right, let's check on our ground beef. Now, what we're going to do is every couple minutes we'll stir this sauce. Now, ground beef just about browned. Man, I love enchiladas. I went to the store and bought this stuff. Of course, I had a lot of the seasonings, but I think it's a little over $9 is what it's going to cost me to have about 4 enchiladas. We're also going to have some sides of Spanish rice and some refried beans and some pico de gallo and some beer while I watch a Stanley Cup playoff. Man, it's just a shame the Stars lost last night. They could have cleared out the series, but they didn't do that. Okay, our ground beef is just about browned. Now what we want to do is we're going to add an 1/8 teaspoon black pepper, 1/8 teaspoon red pepper flakes, a full tablespoon of chili powder, about an 1/8 teaspoon of cumin, and some coarse salt. Now what this does, especially that chili powder, it adds color to this meat and some substance. And once we get this mixed up, I'm going to add that tablespoon of flour, and it just kind of holds it together a little bit and gives it a little moisture. One thing I'll mention is when you use an extra lean ground beef, it's a little bit drier than your normal ground beef because there's less fat in it. So I'm trying to add some moisture to this. The flour will add some substance and, man, and make it so pretty. Okay, let's add some flour. We got that flour in there. Let's mix that up real good, and this meat will be ready to throw in those tortillas, and we'll put it in the oven. I got my oven preheating to 350, and it only takes about 10-12 minutes for these enchiladas to cook once you get them in the tortillas and all your little toppings on there. Man, look at that. Don't that look good? This sure smells good. Man, I tell you what, this is just as good, if not better, than your restaurant enchiladas. All right, let's take the meat off the heat. Let's check on our sauce here. It's coming together nice. All right, let's put these enchiladas together. Okay, so what we want to do with these tortillas is we want to put about 3 ounces of this beef in there. Just set it down there because we want beef in every bite. And you just kind of scoot that in there like that. Okay, scoot it over. Now, what we want to do is we want to wrap this and tuck it in and then roll it. Now, let me show you what we want to do is we want to take this sauce and we want to line this pan that we're going to put our enchiladas in, because you don't want your enchiladas to burn once they're cooking. And like I said, it don't take long, about 10-12 minutes. So you put some of your sauce in there like that, and then you take your seam side down on your enchilada and you just set it in that pan like that, like that. Now we're on our last tortilla here, our last enchilada. Put this meat in there. I think I'm going to be able to get 4. It's just me and the dog, but he don't get none of this. He knows. But what I'll do is I'll have some leftovers, and I might eat this for lunch tomorrow. So, you fold that over, tuck it in. You don't really want anything left dry. Let's turn this over like this. And that's what you want to see in your pan. Now, let's take our enchilada sauce. And what we want to do is put a light coat over all these enchiladas. Make sure there's no dry area, because I guarantee you they will burn. Just cover it up, add some moisture to it. That smells good already. Alright, like I said, don't leave none of your tortillas dry, because I guarantee you they'll burn. Get them on the side there and on the end. Alright, now I'm going to take, I got some Mexican cheese here, 4-blend Mexican cheese. You just kind of lightly surface that over all these tortillas, these enchiladas. Ooh, Lord, I can't wait to eat them. Fixing to watch the Blackhawk game, drink some beer, and eat some homemade beef enchiladas. They're just as good as any of your restaurants. Okay, now we got some parsley. And you know I'm about pretty. I always talk about pretty. Just kind of sprinkle that on there like that. Goodness great, look at that. It's already pretty. Okay, now I got some chopped up cilantro here. I'm just going to mix that up in there now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in this oven for about 10-12 minutes, just until that cheese melts. And I say it'll be ready to eat. How about that? Alright. Alright, our enchiladas have been in the oven for about 12-13 minutes. Look at that. Look at that. Ain't they pretty? I say we plate this up. Man, look at that. That's just good. What we'll do is we'll top this with a little cilantro and some pico de gallo. Now, we got this enchilada plated up. Let's hit it with a little bit more cheese on top. And a couple of pieces of cilantro for prettiness. You know how I am about pretty. Man, look at that. And some pico de gallo salsa just over the top of it. Man, look at that. Well, there you go. Homemade beef enchiladas, a little bit healthier than what you get at the restaurants, but just as good, if not better. We're going to serve this up with some Mexican rice and refried beans and some pico de gallo and some chips and, of course, cold beer. Let's give this a taste test. All those 4 blends of cheeses. It's so good. Oh my goodness. Give this a try. Easy to do. It's cheap. Just as good as the restaurants. It's a heck of a lot more fun. And don't remember, be nice to somebody. You know, you never know what you can do to change someone's life. I'll see y'all next time. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye, y'all.